Hello everyone, I'm Amber Mack and welcome to another Ensemble volume. Today we're going to talk about the future of well-being, an important topic after many of us have been in various stages of lockdown over the past year. Wanted to thank all of our speakers for joining us today, as well as all of you for being here and being part of this conversation. Our first speaker is Dr. Lee Vanderloo, who is a research fellow at SickKids Hospital and Knowledge Transition Manager to ParticipACTION. Lee is going to talk about how all Canadians can take care of their physical and mental health.
Hi, my name is Dr. Lee Vanderloo, and I'm the exercise scientist with ParticipACTION. We're a national nonprofit organization in Canada aimed to help all Canadians move a bit more and get a little less sedentary. I'm super thrilled to be here today with Ensemble 14 as part of their Future of Wellbeing series. So, ParticipACTION, the main work that we do is really all about thought leadership. It's really ensuring that we're getting whatever the greatest and latest evidence is, the science that's out there for all things physical activity, sport, recreation, and sedentary behaviors, and ensuring that we're getting that information into the hands of the individuals or organizations that are best positioned to do something with it. And that can go anywhere from local sports organizations to educators to even parents and individuals themselves. So we're really working towards helping to translate that scientific knowledge to make it more actionable, more easily consumable and digestible by Canadians so that they're able to be aware of the newest research, the most relevant research, and so that they can look for ways to implement it into their day-to-day lives. Yeah, so at ParticipACTION, we have a huge array of different resources and tools available for Canadians, as well as a number of different sector representatives. So this can range from anything with regards to the current stats and facts for physical activity and sedentary behaviors, current guidelines and movement behavior recommendations, as well as a number of outlines with regards to what our current initiatives are. And so a great spot to start is definitely checking out our website. Everything that we do is fully bilingual, so French and English, and all of our resources are completely free to access. And then, of course, our newest addition is definitely our ParticipACTION app. So it's free to download, and for Androids and for iPhones, you can either enter your minutes manually, or you can connect it or sync it with a wearable or your smartphone. It's a great way not only to help you set a physical activity goal, but it provides a number of different prompts. We have machine learning built into it, so it's going to help build more of a customizable content plan. So in addition to monitoring your activity and working towards a weekly goal that you set for yourself, we are also going to be able to provide you with a number of key articles, different snippets, some how-to articles, circuit ideas as well in terms of helping you get active and helping to support a more active family or workplace as well. Physical activity only plays a very small role in terms of weight loss and weight management. There's definitely a place for it, but it's not a 50-50 between, nutrition and physical activity. It's definitely much smaller, especially when we factor in genetics. And so, I think why we want to be moving should move beyond that. And we should be really thinking about those physical health benefits that we're going to be getting from in terms of preventing chronic disease such as type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and also helping with preventing musculoskeletal issues. Probably most importantly, and what we're going to notice just after a single bout of activity is really from the brain health perspective. So when I say brain health, I'm talking specifically about either the cognitive perspective, so how we think, how we learn, how we process information, how productive we are, our executive functions, our problem-solving abilities. So physical activity has been shown repeatedly in studies in adults to play a really positive role in that respect. If you're new to physical activity, that's okay. Start slow. You don't want to overdo it because you don't want to risk injuring yourself, or you don't want to risk building a negative association with moving. Try to get outdoors. We know from research that people are more active and less sedentary when they're spending time outdoors. And we also know that you're going to get some added benefits beyond just moving while you're outdoors. So that's going to be exposure to natural daylight, sunlight, exposure to fresh air. We know that also being surrounded, particularly in natural settings. And so some recommendations would be, when you are having those phone calls, catching up with people, or even some touch bases with people from the office, any opportunity that you can take to take the call standing, or if you're not on Zoom, so you're not required to having to be face-to-face, is even lightly pacing around your house, your apartment. Again, you're not adding necessarily more to your schedule already throughout the day, but you're just finding ways to kind of creatively increase the amount of steps that you might be taking throughout the day, or the added movement, and really just breaking up those extended periods of sitting or being sedentary. The future of well-being is active and inclusive.
Next up, we're going to talk about a virtual platform that connects communities with virtual trainers. Joining us is the CEO and co-founder of MOSHN.fit, Adrian Capobianco, will join us now to talk about why this is important, not just during the pandemic, but also post-pandemic.
Research teaches that it takes about 3 months to form or change a habit. As we're 12 months into the pandemic, the way we live, work, exercise, and interact with people has changed. And whether we like it or not, in some cases, it's changed permanently. We believe that the future of fitness is on demand, it's virtual, it's personalized, and it's data-driven. So for a bit of context, MOSHN is an ecosystem that connects trainers and trainees directly. There's a direct connection into coaches, there's an app that holds personalized content, and there's a wearable device. And those three things all tie together into an ecosystem. What we've seen over the last couple of months is 3 trends really come to the forefront and accelerate in this world of new fitness. The first one is putting personal and personalized. Research shows that more than half of people don't want to go back into gyms even when they reopen. People have invested in their home gyms, they've seen that it can work, and they've seen the efficiency of it. But what they will miss, or what they do miss, is that personal connection. That personal connection to trainers, to other trainees in the class, and people there. So the virtual fitness world needs to use data and needs to use a real connection with coaches and trainers to be able to drive that personal experience. The second trend is diverse and inclusive. So if I asked you to think of a typical fitness instructor, what image comes to mind? The reality is the world's filled with very different people. Age, gender, different physical abilities and goals. And we expect to see that represented right across the board, from instructors to executives. People want to be welcomed, not intimidated. So as an example, Josh Cassidy is a 3-time Paralympic athlete. He's one of our ambassadors. And he's a Paralympic athlete in the absolute epitome of physical wellness. Another one of our ambassadors is Mike Pinball Clemens, the GM of the Toronto Argonauts. And we're working with Mike on a movement focused on equality. The future of fitness does not fit the traditional mold. It's diverse, it's inclusive, and that's a good thing. And the third is overall well-being. Now, while mental well-being and physical well-being isn't necessarily a new theme, the pandemic has put it to the forefront. Mental well-being shares the stage with physical well-being and is absolutely important in terms of an overall sense of health and wellness. So those are the 3 trends that we've really seen accelerate in the last couple months.
Learning how to breathe in a controlled way can really help to reduce stress by providing an excellent body-to-mind connection. We're going to learn how to do Ujjayi breathing today, otherwise known as victorious breath. It is a type of pranayama. Now, this type of breathing is intended to heat up the body, to calm down the nervous system. It can strengthen your immune system and lower your blood pressure. So lots of really great things. You can join me either on your shins or by sitting in your chair. And you're going to hold your hand up in front of your face a few inches away, and you're going to breathe in through your nose and then exhale with a sound of ha, like you're fogging up a mirror. and take your hand away, you'll notice that there's a constriction that's happening in the back of your throat. I want you to recreate that, but only by breathing in and out through your nose. So give it a try. Now, it's quite a noisy breath. Sometimes it's called ocean's breath. I don't want you to worry about the sound, but give it a try a few more times, lengthening your exhale as much as possible and keeping a relaxed expression on your face. One more. And you can repeat that process as many times as you like. I'll see you soon.
Hey everyone, Sean here from the Ensemble podcast. Hope you're enjoying Volume 14, The Future of Wellbeing. I took some time to sit down with Michael Zavitt, co-founder of Spore Life Sciences, to discuss the rise of mushrooms in our society. Throughout the broadcast, you'll hear clips from episode 8 of the Ensemble podcast. If you like what you hear, find us wherever you enjoy your podcasts and enjoy the rest of the show. What are some common misconceptions about functional mushrooms?
Well, I think a lot of people kind of don't understand the difference between a functional mushroom and their dinner plate mushroom, and there may even be some overlap there. And then a lot of people also don't understand the difference between a psychedelic and a functional, and kind of assume, we've gotten a lot of comments regarding, are these going to make me trip? I even had one person ask me, how long does it take to take effect? I find it funny. I don't blame them, because there's definitely the spotlight on psychedelics right now. So those are the major misconceptions I'm seeing. People also ask, how do you know if they're poisonous or not? I mean, we only deal in species, which are, by the way, lab tested for quality, that, of course, aren't harmful.
As we continue to watch the health space evolve, we're inspired by leading organizations that are continuing to innovate. The future of well-being and technology are offering exciting opportunities and resources. And I am so excited to welcome some of these thinkers and leaders here today. But first up, I wanted to introduce Helena Goshling. Helena, first question for you. In your view, how has the mental health landscape for young people and their families evolved since COVID hit?
There's no doubt that this global crisis has had profound impacts on how we live and work, and it's certainly testing the resilience of each and every one of us. The need for physical distancing has eliminated many of our support systems overnight, which is why organizations like Jack.org, CAMH, the Kids Health Phone, they've never been more important. Through our work at RBC, we are seeing how youth are disproportionately impacted by the economic fallout, actually. And it certainly exacerbates the already difficult school-to-work transition. When I look back over 2020, we were able to welcome 1,400 summer students to the virtually, which was awesome. We're going to do the same this summer. And we also run a career launch program. We run this program for about 7 years, and it's a 1-year paid internship program, which is really focused on providing young people who have no job experience with that so important first job experience. And then, of course, our RBC Future Launch, our 10-year, $500 million commitment to help youth, develop the capabilities and connections to thrive and prosper is incredibly important. Last April, we actually introduced RBC Future Launch Home, which is a new online hub with 30 virtual programs around mental health and well-being, job readiness, skills, STEM, and general online learning to help support youth in this new remote and virtual environment that we find ourselves in. We know that everyone on this call shares our firm belief that helping young people succeed today is so important, particularly the speed of change, how uncertain the economy is, the impact of the pandemic. And I'm just really excited to be here today to hear everyone's perspective on how we can partner to achieve this together.
Yes, we do have an incredible panel who is waiting in the wings, so to speak, key partners and leading thinkers. We have Aman Musani from jack.org. We have Dr. Damian Yankovic from CAMH, and we also have Elisa Simon from Kids Help Phone. And Helena is going to guide this conversation, so over to you, Helena.
Great, thank you, and welcome everyone. So good to see you today. I'm going to start with a question addressed to all of you, actually. In your view, how has the mental health landscape, particularly for young people and their families, evolved since COVID hit? And do you think that mental health issues are becoming less stigmatized, given the increased spotlight and added stressors so that so many of us are now experiencing directly in some shape or form? Maybe Eman, start with you.
Sure. So I think it's not that mental health issues are becoming destigmatized in this context. I would say they're becoming differently stigmatized. We are all facing a lot of challenges. That's no secret at all. But I think that some people are still facing a lot more challenges than other people within the context of COVID-19. So I think that, of course, the mental health landscape has become a lot more difficult for young people. As you mentioned in your introduction, a lot of the services that young people were accessing before through schools, through physical in-person services, through their safe spaces are no longer available. So I think that presents a whole new set of challenges. And I would hope that it starts to open the conversation up more. But we are seeing a lot of challenges on the ground and in our research. So yeah, that's my take.
Thank you. Damian, anything from your perspective, sitting, obviously working with CAMH, this is your life. How have things changed during COVID?
Well, I think we certainly are seeing a shift around mental health and the stigma associated with mental health and mental illness. And COVID has certainly, sort of raised the greater social awareness around the challenges, youth and the society is experiencing. But it does have to be said that the mental health pandemic has been in place before COVID, and now it has continued. And this has only, as Aman was saying, has been exacerbated, really. CAMH and other organizations have done their best to fight stigma associated with mental illness. You might have seen our Not Suicide, Not Today campaign, which points to the fact that mental illness can be fatal, right? But I am inspired by the youth voices actually who are leading a lot of the changes and the shift associated with stigma associated with mental illness. I talk to my kids and look at their interactions online, and there's much more of an open and direct conversation around mental health and mental illness. So, you certainly see a different approach and different recognition from youth around mental health and mental illness. But there are two caveats here. I think, for those of us who have experienced mental illness in the family, how deep the stigma actually runs and how much it can be internalized as well. So now is not the time to stop the conversations, now to accelerate and push even harder. So I think that's number one. And number two, and I think just referring to what Aman was saying, is that now we're seeing more people not having access to the services. People are seeking more services. So it's on providers like CAMH and companies and others to really provide a really good access to those types of mental health services. And for youth, this isn't about waiting 3 months for an appointment to see a specialist, to then see somebody else, and then on and on. For youth, it's about having barrier-free drop-in access that provides holistic care, looking at all of their issues that are associated with mental illness. So I think that's where we need to be moving.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Elisa, obviously your involvement with the Kids Health Phone, you see a lot, hear a lot. What are your views on stigma and how this has evolved, during the pandemic? And it's been a year now. It almost feels like our new normal.
Yeah. So, at Kids Help Phone, we supported young people 4.5 million times last year. That was a 137% increase from the year before. So I would say 100% what the other panelists have said in terms of young people are needing to connect, they're needing support, and they're needing it in the moment. And so they're coming to the services that are available. And so we've been incredibly proud that Kids Health Phone has been able to scale up to be there. But I also really want to build on part of what Iman was saying, which is that the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic has not been equally felt by all young people. The reality is all of us are experiencing some sense of isolation, of loss. And those are the kinds of things that we are talking about and probably have less stigma around. But that there are young people for whom home is not safe.
Right.
There are young people who that loss of connection to a safe adult, which maybe was a family member they can't see any longer, a coach for a sport that is not happening any longer. For those young people, the impact of this pandemic is even greater on their mental health. And of course, the mental health increases in demand and need. It's amazing that they're able to reach out to places like Kids Health Phone, but the systems that are there to support people are still the same. And so young people are maybe getting their counseling from us at 3 a.m. They're maybe participating in an incredible jack.org talk, but they're still on that waiting list for 6 months for support. Their families are still being told to navigate an incredibly complex system where substance abuse help is on this side and mental health is on this side. And that doesn't even deal with the fact that you can't afford potentially your rent or your mortgage. And so I think that we still have a lot of work to do when we really think about destigmatizing mental health and to really allow for young people to be able to connect and receive the support that they need.
So I'm going to put out a question for all three of you on the panel. When we, look back, it's been a year. It's hard to believe it's been a year that we've been in this pandemic, and we're not out of it yet, without doubt. But what have we learned from a public health perspective as it relates to mental health? And Damien, maybe I'll start with you and then move to Iman, and then maybe you, Elisa, to comment on that question.
I think we've learned something very, very simple, that mental health is health, that mental health has to be equally prioritized as physical illness. And I think that the investment has to be equalized between mental health and physical health. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, very true. Iman?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Damien just mentioned. And I would also add that we've known in the mental health space for a long time that these things are important and that these discussions need to be had. But I think that the pandemic has really just shown everybody that, which I think is a really important step forward, and that mental health doesn't exist in a silo. It's so impacted by things that are going on in our world, whether they be a pandemic or other social issues that are coming up. We have to consider everything together and how they interact with one another.
No, very, very true. Elisa?
Yeah, so I would say, again, it's one of the things we've talked about a lot for many years, sort of within the communities that talk about mental health, but it's around the fact that everybody has it and that everybody is impacted. And when we think about mental health, we think from mental well-being all the way through many, many different areas, all the way to what we would consider mental illness. And every single person has been impacted by this pandemic. Every single one of us has days where we are struggling to get up, where we feel like we are locked in, where we feel disconnected. And that is mental health. That is what we need to be talking about. All the way to those of us that are struggling with significant diagnosable mental health conditions or mental illness. And that to me has been really one of the interesting things, is seeing more and more people talking about their own struggles, because that is mental health. That's what we need to talk about. And for years, Kids Health Phone has been saying, let's not just talk about mental illness. Let's talk about whatever your age, whatever your situation is. We all have struggles. We all have hard days. And those, we might be having more of them during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we need to be talking about, who do you reach out to? How do you talk about what you're dealing with? How do you think through strategies for feeling better and coping? And I think that that has all really come to light over the course of the pandemic.
Yeah, no, without doubt, it is a spectrum from mental well-being right through to the more severe cases of mental health, where people maybe are feeling suicidal, but it's that spectrum, and all of us fit on that spectrum somewhere. We've been trying to, over the last several months, we've been really embarking on having different conversations and really encouraging leaders even to share their own personal stories, no matter where they're at on that spectrum, because it makes it okay. It makes you human, but it's okay not to be okay. You don't have to be great every day. Every one of us is going to have a bad day. A question to both Damien and Elisa. Given the shift to a more virtual society, there will be some aspects of how we live and work virtually that will carry on post-pandemic. How can we create a safer online environment and social network to support young people? And are there any inherent risks with this kind of shift? Maybe start with you, Damien.
Sounds good. Of course, there are inherent risks, as we're all seeing and we're very much aware of, whether that's misinformation, disregard for privacy, or just bullying. But there are also missed opportunities. There are missed opportunities around being able to detect when somebody is suffering as they're posting online, and being able to mobilize services to support them. I think there are two things we are looking at and could be doing. One is around do work with sort of tech companies to create these safer spaces online, to create greater safeguards online, especially for youth seeking mental health. And secondly, I think peer-to-peer networks, social networks, will be very powerful in helping youth. Imagine having a peer with a lived experience, with some clinical guidance, helping you navigate through the services and through the experiences you're having. But there's one principle around this that we strongly believe in, is that all of this has to be co-designed with youth. If you don't do it, might as well forget it right away. So the one principle around all of this work is co-designed with youth, and that has to be strictly abide by.
Yeah, excellent. Elisa, anything to add?
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned the co-design, Damien, because that is also a huge principle of our work at Kids Help Phone. And we actually right now have 260 young people that have been co-designing the last few months a national peer support service that we will be launching in the next few weeks. And it's been an incredible experience to really have that conversation with young people about how do you connect with other young people? How do you become an expert in your story and potentially supporting other young people? And then how do you think young people want to be able to talk about the challenges that they're facing? And so having this group of young people has been an extraordinary experience. We've hired youth moderators and really allowing them to build the service that's going to make the most sense to them. The other thing that I think is really important is, as we're building new support systems, that's fantastic. We also have to think about the fact that young people are spending large percentages of their days on social media platforms. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the work that we've been doing at Kids Help Phone is, how do we integrate our supports into the places that young people are already spending their time? Instead of saying, well, yeah, we know that you really want to spend your time on TikTok or whatever the platform is, Instagram, but if you want support, leave that platform and come to us. And so last year we launched an integration with Facebook Messenger, and we did that specifically because we heard from Indigenous youth that was the main way that they connected with each other. And so we said, well, if that's how young people want to connect with each other, then let's provide a connection to our service through Facebook Messenger. And we're looking at a lot of those integrations, again, to say your mental health support doesn't have to happen outside of the normal channels where you connect with each other. We can bring that support directly to you. And I think that that's really the future.
That's very interesting. I mean, both co-designing, and what I heard was meet them where they are. Yeah. And that's the only way that you're actually going to, make that connection in that right channel. So maybe one last closing question along the same themes. I mean, there's obviously so many innovative tools out there, and for young people having to navigate. How does someone even know what's the right tool for them? And any, maybe a quick response from each one of you. Any advice for people listening today as far as what would the right tool, how do you know what the right tool is? Maybe Iman, start with you.
Sure. I think there's no real way to know the right tool. I think a lot of it is just trial and error, and having a supportive network around you. We often talk at jack.org about how valuable peer support is. And while it's not everything, it is huge. So while we navigate this really complicated world of services, I think it's extremely important that youth have trusted people around them while they find the right resource, because it's not an easy checkbox to pick.
Yeah, for sure. Damien?
I completely agree, Iman. I think that's how do we go through all these tools available online, lots without any clinical evidence whatsoever, and even the ones with clinical evidence having very little of that. So I think that's a lot of we have certainly provided guidance around which tools to use and so on. But I think where the future is going is really matching youth and adults or anybody else to specific digital services. So you do get the service, you get assessed in some either active way through assessments or in a more passive way, but just with permission, looking at some of your experiences online, and then really designing a service that's personalized to you, providing you the digital supports that are coming from a trusted source. I think that will always be the case where a trusted source has to be there.
Yeah, thank you. And any closing comments, Elisa?
Yeah, I would say at the end of the day, it's on us to create a system that does not make young people or families run around trying to find the right tool, that we should not try to duplicate the on-the-ground mental health services where you don't know which one you should go to or which one has the hours that would work for you. We actually need to be building integrated systems of digital mental health supports. So we just launched a few weeks ago our very first chatbot on our website. And the idea behind that is to have a conversation with a bot that can help you get to exactly the tool or the article or the service that's going to be most meaningful for you. We've helped to build the Wellness Together portal, which is the federal government's COVID mental health response. And it is using measurement-based care for you to say, I tried this, it didn't work, maybe I should try that. Because the idea is not to offer you a buffet. Here's 500 services, try it out and let us know, did that one work? If not, there's 499 others. That is not helpful. And it is our job to figure out, how do we hold your hand and go, maybe try that. Oh, it didn't work. No problem. Here's another thing that might work for you based on what you're dealing with, what you said is most helpful to you. And that's our challenge. And we have to rise to that challenge, or we're going to be letting every person across Canada down.
Yeah, no, great feedback from all of you. I mean, really helping people navigate the system and try to get them to the place where they'll receive the help that they need based on their unique circumstances. So just thank you for that. A sincere thank you to all three of you for joining us today. The work that you're doing with your respective organizations, Iman with jack.org, Damien, CAMH, and Elisa with Kids Helpline. Honestly, I can't even imagine the volumes that you've had to deal with over the course of the year during a pandemic, and the impact that you're having with so many young people is just phenomenal. RBC is very proud to partner with all three of your organizations. So again, thank you for being here, and thank you for the work that you do and the impact that you're having.
Dear future, you are more uncertain than ever, but I am more determined than ever. Because I'm choosing to stay connected, even when isolated. I'm checking in with myself, not checking out. I'm making it count, not just counting the days. Now with free virtual resources on RBC Future Launch at Home, I'm empowering myself today to be ready for whatever comes tomorrow. Future, I'm coming for you.
Biohacking is a hot topic, so joining us now, we are excited to be joined by biohacker and strategist for Klick Health. We have Oksana Andreyuk, who is going to join us now to talk about how biohacking fits into the future of well-being.
Hello everyone, my name is Oksana Andreyuk. What I'm passionate about is biotechnology innovation and our ability to use technology to enhance our day-to-day human experience, including our physical and mental health performance. Now, the question that I'd like to pose to everyone watching is, do you know if your body is operating at its optimal best? The way that I see it, the future of wellness is biohacking, which will allow us to live as biologically enhanced humans, operating at our peak optimal performance potential with the ultimate goal of slowing aging and living healthier for longer. Biohacking can be defined as the art and science of modifying your internal and external environments in order to take better control of your biology. We are living in an incredibly exciting time right now where our technological innovation is evolving and accelerating at an exponential rate. So we're seeing more and more direct-to-consumer devices and tech products that are built to help you paint a better picture of how your body is functioning, optimize your sleep, your nutrition, your physical fitness, your stress resilience, and even optimize the environment that you live in. Because let's face it, what gets measured gets managed, and we are seeing an increasing amount of tools on the market to help us generate the data we need in order to benchmark our physical health performance, track the impact of various interventions and lifestyle changes, and take a personalized approach to wellness. In the future, we'll only see more such tools on the market, and we'll only get more accurate and more efficient. So biohacking as a practice is already happening and already available to you, and it's only going to get better and easier. So just to give you a little preview of all the things you can do, we already have consumer tests on the market to help you quantify your biological age and the rate at which you are aging using epigenetics, inflammation markers, and telomeres. What's really exciting is that quantifying the state of our physical health is no longer limited to clinic settings. There are over 400 DNA tests available on the market to help profile your genetic blueprint. There are consumer tests to test your blood biomarkers, your hormone levels, your gut health. You can buy these tests online, do them at home, and get the results in the comfort of your own home. There are at-home smart scales to help you measure and track changes to your body composition, including your body fat and lean muscle mass. More and more fitness trackers are available that can help you track your biometric data, your activity levels, your sleep quality, and then provide daily recommendations to help you improve the state of your physical well-being. I myself am wearing two right now, my Oura Ring and my Garmin watch. And of course, talking about wellness, we can't forget about our mental health, our brain health, and there are consumer devices that can help improve your creativity, problem solving, enhancing your focus and memory and learning. Another important factor of wellness is our stress resilience. There are devices that can tap into your nervous system to allow you to choose your mental states and improve your stress resilience over time. So to come back to the question that I posed in the beginning of, do you know whether your body is operating at its best? Well, we have the technology to help us biohack various aspects of our physical and mental health in order to optimize how we feel every day. And that, to me, is the future of well-being.
Finding a few moments of stillness might be a lot easier than what you expect. You have an entire toolbox full of positive memories and experiences at your disposal. And we're going to go through a very small exercise together today. I want you to find a comfortable place to sit. I want you to relax, soft shoulders, round belly, and breathe in through your nose. And then let out a big sigh. Close your eyes and place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. And take away any pressure you might have on yourself. And I want you to think about one moment you felt truly happy, calm, relaxed. Now, how does that make you feel? Make you feel in your heart, your chest. Now, whatever it was that brought you to this moment, person, place, or thing, can you let it drift away and just hang on to the feeling? Just breathe in. Almost like you're breathing in that experience deeper, right into your heart. Allow yourself to feel calm, happy, and relaxed. And then when you're ready, you can gently open up your eyes and take your hands away, gently place them on your knees or your thighs. And just bring your hands together and be grateful for having an open heart.
Can you just explain some of the high-level benefits of mushrooms? You know, we're talking about extracting different compounds, and I know there's many different species of mushrooms, but can you talk to the few that are really high level that some people would probably need to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so there's many really. Like, if you're looking at a psilocybe cubensis, for example, then I think the value comes from the hallucinogenic properties, which have shown marked improvement in people's anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Now, a lot more research has to happen to sort of, find out what exactly is going on, but we know that there's definitely a lot of qualitative evidence to suggest that. Then if you're looking at species like some of the functional mushrooms the Spore deals with, turkey tail is a notorious antiviral and antibacterial. It's shown to be very effective against E. coli and a number of other pathogens. And the list really does go on. Maitake mushrooms contain a compound that's shown to be super effective with patients undergoing chemo. And in fact, Sloan Kettering Hospital put out a great report on Maitake extract, and they actually do prescribe it to their patients undergoing chemo. So I think that the profile of potential compounds is pretty limitless. And I mentioned penicillin and rapamycin earlier. I mean, they're two of the most famous, of course, but there are many others.
Now it's time to hear from Naomi Adams and Matt D. Paola. Naomi is the VP of Strategy and Business Development for League, and Matt is Managing Director for Canada for Huge Inc. They're going to have a conversation about how League has rolled out consumer-facing healthcare information with Loblaw and Shoppers Drug Mart through the PC Health app. Let's take a look.
I'm Matt DePaula, Managing Director of Huge Canada, here working with the Ensemble folks representing Volume 14, the future of well-being as we head into 2021. And today, we have a lovely guest with us today, Naomi Adams, who is the VP of Strategy and New Business at League in Toronto. Naomi, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself to the crew here, obviously a little bit of background and what your role at League is.
So as you can all probably hear, I'm not Canadian, I'm Australian. I've been in Canada now for about 3 years. Prior to that, I was actually in the UK for 6 years. At League, so I've been at League for a couple of years. At League, I look after kind of strategy and new business development, which is really what we consider our platform business. So taking the solution that League has built over the last 6 years, which initially really was a health and well-being and benefits solution being sold to employers, and now leveraging that technology to power digital health solutions for other organizations.
Let's talk about League, because League obviously has a big stake in wellness. So maybe for everyone viewing this, like, what does League do? What do you do there? What does success look like for you at League? Yeah, give us a little bit of background.
We're about 6 years old. We're a digital health company, and our mission is to really empower consumers with their health. And so, you're probably thinking, what on earth does that actually mean? For us, that means making it easy for consumers to navigate, access, and pay for healthcare. I'm sure every single person listening to this has had various instances where you've needed to get, healthcare for a particular reason. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not made to be easy because it's not made for the consumer. That's not how healthcare was initially sort of delivered, right? It's been delivered from, big hospitals and kind of medical people, right? And really designed to support people in those instances where they're sick, rather than keeping people well and out of the healthcare system, as it were. So that's really the kind of the big mission that we exist to solve. And we bring a strong consumer lens to that. And essentially League over the last sort of 5 or so years has really focused on selling and supporting employees. So selling to big organizations and supporting the employees with their health. We're now extending that so that our reach and our mission can be delivered to more individuals, more consumers. And so how we're doing that is taking our platform that we've built and using it to power digital health solutions for other organizations. So, one particular partnership we have that many of you might have seen is a partnership with Shoppers and Loblaw that we launched at the end of last year, which is PC Health. So an application to support Canadians to access and navigate the healthcare system.
Yeah, I want to also dig into, because we are here talking about the future of wellness. I want to make sure we articulate, like when League looks at a description of wellness and a holistic view of that, do you want to just give just a brief overview of what that is, so that we're all grounded in when League looks at wellness, we mean this?
So we actually, some of the principles that we work off are underpinned by something that's called the social determinants of health. So, and the social determinants of health has a number of aspects to it. It really says that, your health isn't just made up of, kind of your physical health, but it's also made up of your mental health. It's made up of your financial health. It's also made up of your social health. How connected do you feel to, your community and so on. So, I think when you think about impacting someone's health and wellness, you have to think about all those aspects. Mental health, I think, is a massive part of, of someone's health, and something that, that I think has it's definitely been something that we've seen more employers take notice of over the last few years, and, not least during the last year with the pandemic.
How has the pandemic affected League, your growth, the receptivity of certain conversations around, your view of holistic wellness, product development, any kind of just kind of broad spectrum, obviously everyone's had to pivot a lot, but how's that affected, the business of League? So
right at the beginning of the pandemic, one thing we realized is a lot of companies need help right now. Everyone's just gone remote, and organizations need a way to give support to their employees for their health. So we actually kind of pivoted, one product that we have essentially to be able to deploy to a new customer in 2 weeks. So that was, that kind of cut our implementation times down from sort of, 2 to 3 months to basically 2 weeks to get something for our employer clients, so that they could support their employees. So I think that was sort of something that we responded to quickly.
You talked a little bit about pivoting one product to get to market faster. But is there anything, how else has it affected, the business or product development specifically in the last year?
So we've introduced some new capabilities. So one thing that we see that employers will need when we return to the office, to the workplace, is a way to actually check in with their employees. So when the employees are coming into the office, making sure that they're well. So that's one piece of it, and that they're cleared for work. So that was something that we've also pivoted to implement. More broadly, though, I think we just see an increased need for a lot of different companies, pharmacy retailers, health providers, major insurance carriers. They're looking for ways to offer more to their end consumers, to their patients, to their constituents, to support them in their digital health, their health journey through a digital solution.
Is there anything else kind of on the horizon for League this year that we should all watch out for or be excited for that you can share?
I would just say, look, we launched our partnership with Shoppers and Loblaw, so PC Health, in Canada at the back end of last year, and there's lots of exciting stuff to come there. So if you're in Canada, download the PC Health app. You get free access to, chat with a nurse if you have an issue, chat with a Loblaw dietitian. You can complete health programs to support, your physical health, your mental health, your diet, and PC Optimum points.
So final question, what are your top 5 predictions for what the next normal will be like for businesses? I mean, a lot of people are talking about, a lot of people are pontificating and predicting what the future of work could look like. But what do you think? What do you think our next normal is going to be on the other side of this?
I think the flexible working and what I talked about in terms of how Lee is responding as well, kind of people sort of choosing to perhaps work remote some days or come into the office. I think that's here to stay, at least for the next few years. I think it's been proven that we can do it. We can operate very effectively, despite not being in the same room. So I think that's definitely here to stay. I think the second one for me, which is also a real hope for League as a business, is that your employers have really realized the important role that they play in the health of their employees and the services that they can offer and the ways that they can support people, with their health. So I think that's the second one. I think that the employer will know that they have to play a greater role, in managing people's health or supporting people's health. Probably the third one is that, I think offices will change. Like, I just don't, some offices I've worked in the past have been pretty kind of cramped in. I don't think people are going to feel as comfortable with that sort of a setup.
Thank you for sharing the top 3. Those are all great predictions. So I think we're all anxious to see what the other side looks like. So on behalf of Ensemble, Volume 14, the future of well-being, Naomi, would like to thank you for your time and your candor today. Really appreciate your openness and sharing your view of the world. And I think we wish you nothing and the folks at League success as we kind of help see another great Canadian company expand globally. So thank you for your time today.
There's a lot to think about when it comes to building a new hospital, and joining us now to talk about the future of both medical as well as well-being needs when it comes to building a new hospital is Lennox Wong, who is the Chief Medical Officer, VP for Medical and Academic Affairs at the Hospital for Sick Children.
Hi, my name is Lennox Wong. I'm a pediatric intensive care physician and the Chief Medical Officer and Vice President for Medical and Academic Affairs here at the Hospital for Sick Children. I'm speaking to you from one of the oldest parts of SickKids. The building that I'm in right now was opened in January of 1951, so a bit over 60 years ago. And at the time, it was the largest and the most sophisticated, most modern children's hospital in the entire world. And it's safe to say that they couldn't have imagined back in 1951 the sort of incredibly complex, sophisticated work that would be happening at SickKids here today. We're in the midst of an amazing redevelopment here, and we're actually thinking about what the future of child health will look like, not just 10, 20 years from now, but really 50 or more years from now. And part of this is an exciting set of work that we call Project Horizon. Involves reimagining the whole campus, really rebuilding the Hospital for Sick Children from the ground up, not just the clinical areas, but also the patient support areas, which will involve things like innovative spaces for education and research. There's probably about 3 areas that we would focus or consider principles that we want to consider looking forward into the future. One of which is this idea of innovation. And healthcare these days is so much more than providing clinical care. Part of what we need to do is actually tie in the training, the education for future generations of healthcare professionals and research, and make this seamless across the whole campus. And so that enters into the consideration for how you might build a hospital and how it might look like, so that both research and education can take place in clinical areas, and that clinical care can actually infiltrate into areas where there might otherwise traditionally be education. Another area that's really specific to child health is being child and family centered. And in some ways, this is not a new concept, but it's one that's really entered into the way we think about spaces in particular. We really want to have spaces that allow families to be present by the child's bedside, spaces that really allow for play and activity and early rehabilitation, and also spaces that would allow for natural light. So in some ways, old is new again. The old-time sanitariums of the past would have open windows, they'd have outdoor spaces, a lot of fresh air, a lot of light, and we're looking to do this when we think about building the hospital of the future. And the final thing I would mention is that we have given a lot of thought into building inspiring spaces for the staff who work at SickKids. Inspiring and also safe spaces that really support wellness. In the past, very little thought was given to how we would ensure that staff would stay well when they're staying here all day and night, 7 days a week, throughout the year. And little things like having respite spaces for people to take a break, to take care of essential things like food and drink, and then also considering how light affects staff. Because the circadian rhythm is really important when you have people who are working through the middle of the night on a regular basis. So when we bring all of these things together, I think we've got a very exciting next 10 years here at SickKids, and really thinking about the flexibility of the space that would really allow for medical innovation, and both along the lines of care for the children and families, but also thinking about having the capacity to be flexible and allow for things that we can't even imagine now to take place 50 years from now.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'd like everybody to get off of their chair and take a little break. We're going to reduce some of the tension in your chest, in your back, and in your shoulders. Please stand with your feet hip distance apart with your toes facing forward, and open up your arms out from your shoulders. You're gonna arch your back slightly, and then as you exhale, imagine that you're hugging someone larger than you, and round your back, draw your chin in towards your chest, and then inhale to open up, look up towards the sky, and then exhale to close. One more time, inhale all the way open. And then look forward with your spine upright, bend your elbows like a cactus, breathe in, nice long spine, feel your feet on the floor, and then exhale, twist. Come all the way back towards the center, and then twist the opposite way, back towards the center. Reach your arms all the way up over your head, and cross your thumbs, reach your index fingers all the way towards the sky, hug your arms next to your ears, tuck your tail, breathe in, and fold towards the right. And back to the center, breathe in, tuck your tail, fold to the left. And then come all the way back to the center. Bring your hands towards your heart in a prayer. Turn your palms inside out and stretch your hands all the way towards the front. Strong, straight arms. Breathe in. Feels good. And then release your hands. You're going to open and close your fists a few times. And then gently wind your wrists one way and the other. And then bring your hands back towards your heart center. Namaste.
What tips do you have for people who are trying to incorporate functional mushrooms into their lifestyle but don't know where to start?
I would say dive right in, do your research. Quick Google search should pop up quite a bit of data out there. No doubt that there's a lot of fluff, but there are also a lot of great articles out there. So look for, reputable scientific sources, and do your research. And, as far as our products go, all of them are, more or less harmless. I mean, we haven't had any issues whatsoever to date. We always recommend that you speak to your doctor if you have any concerns. Personally, like when I started, I went with blends because I wasn't looking for just single ingredients. I wanted to see what the full profile would do. So that's why I really like Mike's Mix. Maitake is a very important one for me because of the anti-cancer property. So I take Protect and Defend, another product that Spore has, daily and religiously. But to each their own. It really depends what you're looking for. All of our SKUs have sort of a target, one for energy, one for focus, one to help you get to sleep. So it really depends. I mean, I would say that a really good place to start is generally Mike's Mix. I developed that for, the person who wants to figure out what functional mushrooms are all about, or who really wants to run the whole gamut and be exposed to the most possible functional mushrooms in one dose. Our Mike's Mix carries 10 different species.
Thank you so much to all of you for joining us today to talk about the future of well-being. We wanted to remind everyone that the next Ensemble volume is all about the future of music, and we hope to see you there. Thanks for your time.